Okay, today we're going to show you the Shigiya cylindrical grinder. This is a universal cylindrical grinder, and their model is the GUA30-60. That's the number on the tag. Well, you could just call it a G30. So this machine has obviously a swing down ID attachment up here, has a digital readout, pretty big substantial workhead, tailstock, really beefy, heavy kind of grinder. You got about 11 3/4, 11 7/8 swing here. 24 inches, I believe, between centers, but you can check our quote. This has plunge and pick feed grinding, as well as a spark out in the plunge and a stroke counter when you're doing traverse grinding left and right. In other words, you set your timer over here for how many passes back and forth for it to make as it counts its way down to kicking out, as opposed to just plain straight in plunge grinding. We start our timer and just tick down to 0, and then it kicks out. So everything is running right now. It's wired for 480 volts, 460 volts. Cycle start, wheel slide comes forward, workhead starts, and your INFEED begins. This will feed down to 0. Go into a fine feed, and then the spark out timer comes on. You see the red light is on, the needle's moving. And that's the end of the cycle. We'll do that again. We control the speed here. You have a coarse feed and a fine feed. Program is set up on this wheel down here, this dial down there. You set your stock removal and your changeover point on that. So you see on your cycle is lit, we're in cycle, and now we have the fine feed came on, and now we've reached the 0, the dead stop. Now the timer comes on, and we feed down to 0. So the headstock has its own jog button on it. It can be swiveled. It has several different speeds. It's got a belt in here with maybe 6 different speeds. Traverse grinding, we switch the program to traverse, and we turn our table on, and we bring the wheel slide in, and then our table will start moving. And each time we reverse, we're going to feed a little bit. Now the amount that this feeds each time is regulated by these 2 speed valves, as well as a left hand and right hand, or a headstock and tailstock timer. It says for how long it feeds. So you can make it feed, you could adjust the amount of feed and the frequency or the speed of the feed. I think the way I have it now is pretty good. So this will just work its way down to 0, and when it gets to 0, we're going to start the spark out counter, counting down individual passes. So if you ever want to stop the cycle, you just have to press the cycle start button, and the wheel slide goes back to where it was. The hand wheel backs up to the amount that you had already ground off, or your stock removal, and everything is good. So we've got micrometer mounted over here for a table adjustment, for taper adjustment. Headstock is a number 4 Morse taper, and the workhead is also the tailstock is also a number 4 Morse taper. You also have a little thing here that you can hit this and feed down a little bit each time. So there you have it, that's the Shigiya. Oh, around back we have a coolant tank. It's in the back, it's in the photographs. Hydraulic tank, it's got a special spindle tank for the spindle. And that's it. That's the Shigiya G30. Thank you. All right, so now we've got the machine, taken the tailstock, moved it out of the way, and we folded down the ID spindle. And so that's what it looks like when you've got your ID spindle folded down. But as a safety, they have the INFEED mechanism is now all the way fed in. That's why we see the red light on. And INFEED now would be done by hand. And at the end of the cycle, you would have to physically reach up and switch the switch from forward to reverse and then send the head back. We'll not do it automatically in case you're inside of a bore when the machine cycle would be over, like in the plunge grinding or traverse. It goes back on its own. In ID, as a safety, there's a switch there. The machine works a little bit different, and the INFEED is done by hand. Okay, thank you. That's finishing up this video.